Well, a good morning once again. My name is Kieran Tozi. If you're just joining in, you are just in time for the Twitter Job, and this is the part whereby we sit with an expert in regards to what we talked about in the first bit of the Twitter Jobs to give us more insight or clarity, you know, in regards to what people are talking about or saying on the Twitter platforms. And today we're going to be discussing some of the issues affecting football and what FUFA is actually doing about it. And in studio with me is Mr. Dennis Lukambi, and he's the legal officer or legal counsel of the FUFA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kayla.
How are you?
Fine, I'm fine.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Well, thanks for coming through on such short notice. Yeah. So we need to put people's mind to rest. Everyone is wondering, everyone is questioning what FUFA is doing in regards to so many controversies actually happening. Yeah. And the first thing I want to ask is when it comes to facilities in football, they are very poor. Yeah. When it comes to salaries, people are also complaining they're not coming through on time. Referees are not doing a good job. Not on only one game, not two, so many times. Yeah. So I would want to ask from a legal perspective, what is FUFA doing about this?
Okay, thank you for those wonderful questions, Kayla. Maybe let me start with the stadium. Stadium is not the responsibility of FUFA.
Whose responsibility is
it? In most cases, the national responsibility. We don't have so many federations in Africa which have constructed stadiums. Yes. The countries, those stadiums are very expensive. If you look at the budget of FUFA, which is almost, if not funded with FIFA, it's around 35 to between 20 to 35 billion. Yeah. A stadium alone, it is in $1 million project, so FUFA doesn't have that money. The only thing they can do is to lobby for support. Everywhere, even in England, you find that stadiums are either municipal councils, governments, so many enterprises and private partnership always engage in. So we have Nambore, which is our national stadium. Yes. It's a foreign funded stadium because even government then could not maybe have enough resources. So somebody had to donate the funds to the stadium for Nambore. So the reason why it has been closed was because of it could not fit the standard of international standards. It was rejected by CAF and FIFA, and then it was also used as a medical for COVID center. That's why we had to resort to St. Mary's. Okay. But we believe from the lobby which is done by the federations and the president of FUFA, the stadium will soon be going to open, and they funded it for renovation to fit the international standards. Okay.
Now, another thing I want to ask that everyone is wondering, in regards to what it has happened so many times, you know, fans vending pitches. It has happened with SV Villa. It actually happened with also so many other teams, so many other clubs. However, what everyone is asking why it was unfair to the fact that on Duparaka, with the game that actually transpired last month, the fans did invade the pitch, and the game was actually cancelled. A lot of violence, a lot of hooliganism actually did take place. However, when the game was cancelled, they said there is a rematch that will actually happen. But people are wondering why should there be a rematch when the court, and I do want to quote the hooliganism misconduct in FUFA, which says during a game time as defined in the FCR, the act of hooliganism and violence caused the abandonment of the match. The default club, if found liable of the CDP or FUFA judicial body, will lose the match or forfeiture, which they didn't. It was supposed to be automatic that the game was supposed to end and KCCA was supposed to win. Then in continuation, for a league format competition, the defaulting club will further lose 3 points and 3 goals from those already accumulated, while for a knockout format, the default club will be eliminated from the competition and any other disciplinary sanction deemed by the judicial body or CDP. They say 3 points have to be deducted. However, only 2 points were deducted from Undu Parak, and in fact, they're actually refunded. They were given by FUFA 5 million, both KCCA and Undu Parak, to make sure the game happens again. Why is that so?
For the Undu Parak KCCA game, first of all, I want to put a disclaimer. This matter, KCCA appealed that decision in the judicial bodies of FUFA. So I will be speaking in the general terms, such that I don't contradict myself or I don't try kind of influence. What exactly happened was after in the 97th minute, 90 plus 7 minute, the fans of Onparaka actually invaded the pitch because
yes.
of, you know, the game of football is a game of passion and it raises so many tempers, and so the fans really feel attached to their clubs. And when the referee awarded the penalty, which the technical panel and the judicial bodies ruled that the penalty was rightly awarded, the Onparaka fans invaded the pitch. Now, to take you back to the regulation is divided into two parts. We have a situation where if they invade, it's an act of hooliganism. Hooliganism is divided in 7 parts. It includes the invasion of the pitch. It even includes chanting racial kind of words, including throwing the objects to the pitch, because those objects, if you throw them to the pitch, they can injure the technical bet or any person. So for the first incident you ask for Villa, the fans actually did not invade the pitch, but they threw objects, water bottles and other bottles, which could even lead the game to stop for some time. That is also called hooliganism. Now they look at the judicial bodies look at the gravity of that, and that's why Villa, for example, it was a second offender. At first they were cautioned, and the body made a decision that if this happens again, you lose points and then goals. It actually happened again. That's why they deducted a point. For KCC and for Vipers and KCC, you remember that Bobo's goal, he scored a goal and everybody was not sure whether it was a goal or not. It raised tempers to the fans. They threw objects to the pitch. But the game stopped for some few minutes and then the game continued. That was hooliganism. But they looked at the circumstances and the gravity. The game stopped for a very little time. It was the first time that the fans are doing that in this season. So the reasonable decision was a fine. Now for Onparaka, it was a different case. They invaded the pitch and actually the game had to be stopped, such that people's lives are protected, referees have to be rescued from the stadium, property were destroyed. But now the judicial bodies look at so many other factors. First of all, what caused the ruckus? What caused the fans to invade the stadium? And look at the time of the game. The referee had awarded, the game had gone beyond the 90-minute official time. He added 5 minutes. The game was at 90 plus 7 minutes. So all those factors are considered. But one thing I want you to appreciate, where we are coming from, you see, you are punishing a club, Onparaka, for actions of its fans. In simple terms, these are his clients. They pay, come and watch the game. Why we punish a club is because we take it that it is the responsibility of the club to control its fans. But if you look at the videos, some of the reasons, for example, what the bodies are, as briefed by the chairman, the players are fighting to tell the fans, please don't come. Please don't enter the stadium. If you look at the players, Shaban, they were trying to push the fans outside such that they continue with the game. So they tried their level best. They had the stadium, they had the police, there was army, they had enough security. But if they are overpowered, so punishing a club for the actions of its clients, it's not something that is resonate with the energies of the club. So all those factors are considered. The time of the game, that's what the chairman of the competition discipline panel briefed me. The time of the game, and even the actions of the referee. The referee went through the processes of adjudication, and actually the decision which was passed indicates that, for example, the first penalty awarded to Onparaka, he admitted after watching the video that it was not a right penalty.
Yeah.
So now once that penalty was awarded, you saw Onparaka coming back into the game, and then the tempers had to flare. And other areas where actually the referee and the technical panel realized that the referee mismanaged the game.
Yeah.
And the responsibility of the referee is not for the club, it's for the federation. So that's some of the reasons why the judicial bodies decided that, looking at all the circumstances, one, they punished the club for hooliganism. And I told you, you are punishing a club for the actions of its fans, not for the club. It would have been a different case if the abandonment of the game was caused by the club officials or the players walking out of the pitch. There are other factors, but we are looking at what did Onparaka do to ensure that they stop the fans. They did they took all their obligations. Hire the security was there, according to the reports we received from the referee. They also tried to convince them not to come to invade the pitch, but they were punished with 2 points and 2 goals.
Yes.
That could even lead to relegation. It's a huge punishment for a club. So by the time the gravity and the circumstances, the judicial bodies realized that 2 points and 2 goals were sufficient for that punishment. Yeah. They suspended the player for 6 months because he was a second-time offender. Okocha just came back. That was his game after the misconduct with Villa in Njelu. When he returned, you see him pushing the referee. That's not acceptable. In some countries, they are punishment if a year going out of the game.
But
the CEO was also sanctioned because the reports indicate that he was actually inciting. Yes. Instead of helping the players we are fighting,
he was inciting.
For him, it was a bit inciting, using incitive words.
In regards to fans invading pitches, because it's not the first time. It's not just Uganda Football, doing this. So many other clubs have actually done this. However, people are wondering: are there any? Because I know, like you said, security was actually put in place.
Yes.
But what more is FIFA going to do to make sure this doesn't happen?
Yeah, the first step is now we're about imploring and also trying to work with the clubs to ensure that they educate the fans. One of the core issues that the fans don't know the interpretation. They don't appreciate that the rules of the game change. For example, in terms of interpreting what is an offside, these are rules that are made by the World International Body called FUFA that makes the laws of the game. They determine what is an offside. And now the fans don't get an opportunity to know that, for example, if a goal goes to a goalkeeper and bounces back, if an opponent is there as the last person, that's an offside. So there are so many interpretations. They only see the referee implementing, but they don't know that actually was right. For them, they still interpret the way maybe those of some of us who are playing football those days. We think the laws are the same. Laws have changed. They don't appreciate the laws of their game, yet the referees are implementing. And now the referees don't have enough time to explain to them that this is what works. So what we are doing, and Villa started it with Inginia Misaga, they are educating the fans how they should conduct themselves. For example, look at that goal of KCC, of Bobos in Chitende. After watching the video, everybody realized it was the right goal, but the fans had already protested it, throwing objects too. So what causes that normally is the decisions and failure to appreciate that the rules are applicable the way the referees are doing it.
I want to bring up the issue of Sekatawa, who actually resigned because of so many issues that actually did transpire in regard to the football bit of it. I wonder, why do you think he didn't come to FUFA to actually solve the issues that he had?
Yeah, Sekatawa, our land friend, resigned because in his letter, which I happened to see, he cited that there is the ongoing match fixing and FUFA is doing nothing. But actually, that's not true. What actually happens, match fixing, I want the viewers to appreciate what we mean by match fixing.
Match fixing, yeah.
Match fixing, in simple terms, is predetermination of results. That by the time the actions that are done to make sure that the winner or the loser is predetermined before the game is played. Because the ecosystem of sport, especially football, is unpredictability of the winner. That's why the games are played every week, every day. People come to watch because they are not sure who is going to win. And that's the beauty of the game. Now, the day you tamper with the game and then you determine the winner, of course, the fans, that will cease to be a game. So what normally happens in Uganda, we don't rule it out that it is match fixing because fixing comes in 2 ways. There are those who fix for results. And that's always the clubs. If they wish, maybe they want to win a game, they want to take a trophy, they can fix the results by either compromising with the other opponent. Then others is for money. That's what we call betting. So betting per se is not bad because you've seen betting companies sponsoring football. But there are 2 rules. Officials, including myself, players, referees, are not authorized to bet because actually they will be influenced such that they get money. Then 2, if the bettors, those who are involved in betting, involved in the predetermination of results, that's where the challenge is. Now we have 2 issues. For example, in Uganda, those who are involved in betting, who invest in money, they are not within our regulations. You can't summon them. They are beyond your powers. So that's why now one of the issues, as you asked what we are doing, is we are trying to probe government to establish a law because in other countries, even some Western African countries, there is a law which makes match fixing criminal, such that even those outside football, because our regulation stops on players, coaches, and referees. Those are the people we can summon, and then maybe if they are found wrong, they are sanctioned. But others, businessmen, we don't have those powers. So The bill is going. I think by close of this year or mid-year, if we get results, we'll have now a criminal element where police can be involved to go and investigate those matters.
Okay.
And that's what happens. In UK, match fixing is criminal. Hooliganism is also criminal.
Yeah.
So secondly, we have had a vice which has come into the game. Whenever there is a loss, people fail to accept the defeat. Yeah. Whenever there is a loss, it is either the referee or match fixing.
Speaking of referees, what has FUFA done to make sure that, because it's not the first time all this, people are complaining about referees, you know, that are actually being hired by FUFA. What has actually been put in place to do you train the referees? Do you have meetings with the referees prior to different games? What is FUFA doing about it?
Actually, the first step, I'm trying to first conclude, Kelly, if you give me a minute, to conclude, for example, with match fixing, such that I touch it with the refereeing. In football, as I mentioned, whenever a club loses a game, 80% the coach will blame the referee, the players, and now the players will pick them, and then the club owners or officials will pick it. But actually, referees, in most cases, they make mistakes because they don't have time to review their decisions. You need to make a decision within a second, whether it's a penalty or not. What other leagues, the best leagues have done, they brought in VAR. The referee has a chance to review his decision before he concludes whether it's a penalty or not. He goes and watches the video. Yeah. So, but here you don't have that opportunity. After they watch the replays, normally they accept it was a mistake. Yet there they can correct it there and then. So the challenge you have is the referees have been put in limelight to believe either they are involved in match fixing, they are unfit, yet actually they make mistakes. When you add it to the issue of the officials not to accept defeat, it makes the matters worse. Mm. But actually, by the referee, before he officiates a game, the referees are trained. By the time you go and officiate a Premier League game, you've gone training a minimum of, I think, 4 years. They train you from grade 1, 2, 3. They start, in fact, from grade 4, grade 3 beginner, then grade 3, 2, 1. So most of those referees are even capable of officiating international games. They are highly trained. But because of that element of failure to accept defeat and the allegations of match fixing. For example, on Sekatawa, you asked a very relevant question. His letter, in that instance, it did not indicate exactly because what he intends to, what best to his decision to resign and allege match fixing. But what normally FUFA does, and I think they have done that, they wrote to him, please, if you can come and help us, give us a light such that we investigate. Because match fixing, I told you, if the players are involved in match fixing, for example, that game, which may be one of the games that caused that challenge, was Chetume and Nyamitiobola, his club. Now, Nyamitiobola was defeated with 9 goals. Now, if you talk about match fixing, basically what I wanted to explain is either Nyamitiobola was compromised to accept the defeat of 9 goals, but you can't do that without the consent of officials. If anything happened, it's the players of Nyamitiobola and the coach and the officials, or even the referees, not the other side, because being defeated with 9 goals, it happens in other leagues. It's not illogical, but it's not an ordinary day things. So you have a right to believe there's match fixing. But sometimes, until you investigate, because FUFA, you can't victimize anybody because of a mere what happened on the pitch. So we always implore them to come if you have a clue. If anyone or a referee is involved, you need a clue, because always when the club loses a game, basically the allegation is match fixing. And I'm saying we don't rule it out. It happens. It could be happening. But as FUFA, we try to investigate. Sometimes they accuse the players, coaches, but when you track their records, you find they are not guilty, they are innocent.
Referees, in regards still to referees actually traveling up country, so many people, the fans, feel it's actually not fair. Is there a reason as to why this is actually happening, whereby referees from Kampala actually taken to all these up-country games that tend to happen? Why is that so?
Yeah, of course, the ordinary deal of business of refereeing is, for example, if you're officiating a game in Arua, you can't now use the official from Arua, because we try to avoid conflict of interest. For example, in national teams, if Uganda is playing with another country, you can't use a Ugandan referee. Definitely, he's going to support his own country. So even in football, we try to get the issue of conflict of interest. For example, if you take me to officiate a game in a club that I support, or in a region, or from Masaka, and then Masaka is playing where I come from, you find I have a conflict that I'll make sure my club wins.
Yeah.
So you can't take somebody from Arua to officiate a game in Arua, if he's, for example, from that side. If somebody referee is from Gulu, you can't, and is officiating a game in Gulu, definitely you have that attachment to the club, and sometimes it may cause a conflict of interest. So that's why you need to get somebody from a different region to go and officiate that game in another region to avoid conflict of interest, basically.
So as we wrap up, I want you to give us some closing remarks for people watching, for the teams, the clubs. What is FIFA doing about just your closing remarks in regards to all the situation that is actually happening around in regards to football?
Yeah, dear viewers of our beloved CTV, yes, we don't rule out challenges in the game, but some challenges are beyond the federation, are beyond the clubs. We need to work together as a team. Match fixing, we may not rule it out, but we implore everybody, if you have any idea, if you have any clue that someone involved in match fixing, in the determination of results, please, we have our hot numbers. If you go on our website, we have the FUFA pages, where even if you don't want to be exposed, or you want to, your name will be withheld, you'll be anonymous, yes, because this is the vice we have to fight together. FUFA, what FUFA is doing is trying to fight for the law, national law, to make match fixing criminal. But secondly, let us also accept the defeat. For example, it's a game. We always have a winner and a loser. Most of our officials, they don't want to appreciate that. Whenever they lose the game, it's either the referee or there's match fixing. When you ask for evidence, they don't come to any task. They always come and also allege and then continuously allege. I heard, I was told. They always don't give the clue. But we can only fight this together with the federation and the clubs. For fans, yes, please, clubs, let us teach our fans the laws of the game. Sometimes the decisions are right. For example, the second penalty on the Palaka and the KCCA, it was a right awarded penalty. The fans had no, despite other mismanagement of the game by the official, but on that incident, the fans had no right. They didn't know the laws of the game, how they are applied, and it's the role of the clubs and us to work together to make sure that we have a beautiful game.
Thank you very much, Mr.
You're
Dennis.
welcome.
It was a great conversation here with Mr. Dennis. I do hope fans out there, clubs and teams out there that actually did watch, you did learn one or two things. FUFA is doing what it takes to make sure the match fixing issue is actually worked on, and so much more. However, that's all I had for you. You don't want to miss, as Sarah will be showing you how to make that chicken salad, so do not blink.